I hope that everyone is staying safe in these difficult times, and also to let you know that at Make Solutions, we do all work out of remote offices, so it doesn't change our availability to you. We're still available to assist with anything that you need, so please don't hesitate to contact us if you need anything over the next little while. So today's Lunch and Learn is going to focus on some new functionality that we've released, and also to look at some common mistakes that we see that happens at a variety of different client organizations, just to call them out. So hopefully you're not doing them at your organization as well.
Back on mute.
Sorry, I'm not sure how I got back on mute. So I will just start again then. So we're going to be looking at new functionality that's available inside TransIT, and also some common mistakes that we've noticed from different client sites, just to make sure that you can address them at your client site. So for new functionality, we'll look at locking scenario test details and how you can make use of that functionality. Some changes that were made to the test note page. The binocular search that was added to the test report and the issue list. New filtering that was added to stop completing non-consecutive steps in the position dashboard, and an icon that was added to assist in making sure that a script is moving on during a round of testing. So for locking your test scenario details, once you create a round of testing, the scenario details inside that round of testing belong specifically to that round of testing. So when you click either the view link from the header column beside your scenario, or the test header link from the test steps page for your scenario, any edits that you make to the scenario details page from there will be specific only to your round of testing. So if you have instruction details that you save in your scenario details at the scenario level for reminders of things to add during a round of testing, those things will be retained at the scenario level, and the changes will only be applied to your specific round of testing. So on the left, you can see what it would look like at the scenario level. And then when you make changes from your test dashboard, using either that view link or that test header link, you'll see there's a note here saying that the header details are specific to your round of testing. So it'll call out the round of testing that you have set up. So test note changes. So we were noticing that sometimes people were leaving the note type and the assigned to fields blank, which is making it more challenging to manage a round of testing. So the note type field has now become a required field, and the assigned to field has become a required field, but it's also become a drop-down list. So it will be a drop-down list populated from the users that are set up for your organization, rather than just a text field. So when you click into the test report now, you'll see that there's this icon, this search icon that's been added to the the test report. So previously, when you were working through your test report after round testing to address any notes that were made, you could only filter by one column search at a time, or using the Control F browser search functionality. But now with the binocular search, when you click the binocular, it gives you a dialog box, which allows you to enter either a text string or just a single word into the search. And when you click enter, you'll see that the report redisplays only showing the things that were entered into your dialog box. You'll also know that the filter is on because it's got the remove filter link that's displayed in the white menu there. So in addition to the binocular search, we've also added the hide icon, so the minus here. So you can search both by the binocular search, and then you can search even further by removing certain things. So you maybe want to remove anything that's been addressed in your test report. So much like the test report, the issue list has the same binocular search icon that's been added, and it's going to operate the exact same way. So you can enter either a single word or a text string into the dialog box and click OK. And it's going to return with only those things that were entered into your dialog box. You'll see that same remove filter link at the top, and you'll get the minus the hide link available. So for the issue list, it's for the status, priority, and issue type column. You'll have that option to minus certain things out. So filtering to help stop completing non-consecutive steps. So this is specific to the position dashboard. So although we always mention during training that the orange bands identify where a position starts and stops for a scenario and not to go in between, it still was possible that you could. And the problem that would happen when you did that is, when you're looking at this particular screen here, you can see that this position has steps from line 129 to 136, and then they don't pick up again until 274. But you could use the arrows and click all the way from the top to the bottom, and what ends up happening is you're not only completing the steps for your position, you're completing all of the steps that are in between, even though you don't see them on your screen right now. So what happens now is when you click the down arrow beside the step that you want to begin completing, it's going to flip those arrows to be up arrows, and it's only going to allow you to click the up arrow beside the last step for that particular section. So that eliminates the possibility of being able to go past your group of steps. Is that script moving? So this is a brand new icon that has been added to the test dashboard. So it's a little clock icon that you'll see along the left-hand side. And so this icon will display when your scenario hasn't been documented on in a specific time period. So you can see by hovering your cursor over the icon there, it's telling me no updates in the last 10 minutes. So if you're running a round of testing and you can see that there's this number of scenarios that are not moving forward, then you obviously want to see what's happening. So for this example here, we have it set to every 10 minutes. If you're wanting to change that duration of time, you'll click the icon at the top here, and then you can change the amount of time that you want your scenario to display for. You can also use that in conjunction with the test notes along the side here. So when a particular, for example, when a particular team is up, you can have the team name displayed on the side here. When the person who's responsible for that team starts working on it, they can put their name in the comments here. And when they're finished, they can remove their name, and then for the person who's managing the round of testing, they know who they can look for either the blank spots or the icon to put in the new team name for who's next. And that can just help to move things along faster. So that makes it easier for the person managing to say, okay, these scenarios here are not moving forward. I can see that 3, 9, and 22 are all sitting with patient access. So you can get in touch with that particular team to say, okay, why are your scenarios not moving forward? So again, that's brand new functionality that was just released. So some common mistakes. So the things we'll look at is either forgetting or putting the wrong vendor on the outside of the task. The details fields being out of order or missing one of the brackets. Permanently deleting tasks that were part of a scenario and how to recover them. And then fighting over login information when you should be adding a position instead. So forgetting or putting the wrong vendor on the outside of the task. When I say the outside of the task, I'm talking about from the task page. So you can see here that this particular task has none listed in the vendor column, which means that there's no vendor selected for that particular task. What happens for the inside of the task, so the task steps page, is that means you have no options available for you for selecting the product, application, or function, because these fields are driven by what vendor is selected on the outside of the task. So just like if you've selected no vendor, there's going to be no options in these drop-down lists. If you selected the wrong vendor, it obviously means that it's going to have the wrong options that populate into these fields. So you need to make sure that what's listed on the outside of the task is appropriate for the task that you need. What we've noticed is that each client site does seem to have some tasks out there that have no vendor selected. So without throwing anybody under the bus, I've looked at this particular client site as an example. So this client site, I am filtered currently onto none as the vendor. And there's 3, and I'm on 100 per row, and there's 3 pages. So that means that this particular client has no vendor selected for almost 300 tasks, which isn't very good. So our recommendation would be for everybody to look at their tasks, filter on none, and then start working through all the tasks there to make sure that any task that's needed does have a vendor selected. So looking at how that can be even more of a problem is if you use this icon at the top here. So this is going to display, show where the task is used inside a scenario. And I've clicked the icon here, and you can see that these tasks here have no vendor selected, but they're currently being used inside a scenario. So the next is details out of order or missing one of the brackets. So I've gone inside a task right now, and I've taken the details fields. So you can see normally how it should look is it should be details, details 2, details 3. But to show an example for both being out of order and missing a bracket, the second details here, it should say details 2, but right now just says details. And the third one should say details 3 and have a closing bracket, but it doesn't have that. So what happens when you have either your details out of order or the bracket is not on the end? It means that when you're on the scenario steps page, you don't have the text box available for you. So what's showing here is you see how the first details field is displayed in blue text. That's because that is a text box that's available for me to use. But then you can see that the second details and the third details are just written in black text when they should be blue text fields. The reason they're not available as text fields is because the 2 was missing for the second one, and the 3 and the end bracket was missing for the third one. So this is obviously going to be problematic when it comes to adding details to your scenario, but it can also be problematic if the task is already being used inside a scenario somewhere and it already has details in it. Because if the details fields were either removed or the bracket is now missing, then it means that details that were previously displayed inside your scenario are no longer going to be displayed for you. But it's not an issue as long as you put the details back in the proper order and with both brackets, then the details will return to the display for you. So how to recover permanently deleted tasks. So before permanently deleting a task, you're going to want to, of course, make sure that the tasks are not being used inside a scenario. So this both means scenarios that are active and scenarios that have been inactivated but may be used down the road. So say you're currently working on integration testing and you already did your regression testing, so you've inactivated all your regression test scripts, but you still may need them down the road for future rounds of regression testing. You want to make sure that you're not, just because a scenario is inactivated, you need to make sure that you're not deleting the tasks that exist, permanently deleting the tasks that exist inside it. If you do happen to, there is a way, although it's not ideal, there is a way to bring those tasks back. So you'd start by clicking the testing, you can bring those tasks back as long as the scenario has been used in a previous round of testing. If the tasks were not used for testing at any point, then unfortunately we're not able to bring them back. But if they did exist in a previous round of testing, you can click testing from the menu and you'll select the display completed rounds of testing, the icon here. When you do that, it's going to refresh your list and show you the inactive rounds of testing. You'll know that you're on the inactive because you've got the link here that says display active tests. And then you'll use the Control F feature to search for the particular scenario name that you're looking for. Once you've found your scenario, you'll click either the Start Testing or the Continue Testing link that's on the side here. And when you do that, it's going to display your scenario steps. If the link that you've clicked is Continue Testing, then you're going to want to make sure that you've clicked the View All Steps link to make sure that you're seeing all the steps starting at line number 1. You'll then want to click All for rows to make sure that you're seeing all of the test steps on one single page. Once you've done that, you'll want to start in the status column and highlight all the way across and all the way down to the very end of your scenario, and then do Control-C to copy. Once you've copied all the details from that script, you're going to open Excel and create a blank worksheet. When you've got your blank worksheet, you're going to place your cursor in cell A1. You're going to right click and you're going to select Paste Special. Once you've selected Paste Special, you're going to want to select the text option. Reason being is you've also copied all of the icons that were displayed and you don't want to be pasting those icons, you just want the text. So once you've pasted, you can see that all of your steps are going to be displayed. But it's not going to be perfect and ready for upload. You're going to need to do some manipulations to your spreadsheet in order to be able to then use the upload functionality that's available inside TransIT. So some of the things that you're going to need to do before you're able to upload is you'll want to highlight all of the rows and turn on filtering. Once you have filtering on, you're going to first want to show blanks in the steps column and delete all of the blank rows. You're going to want to highlight the application column, press and hold Control-H, and do a replace. So when when it pasted all of the applications, it pastes them with a space dash space in between the application names. But in order for a spreadsheet to be uploaded into TransIT, you need to remove that space that's in between the brackets. So by doing Control H and then replacing a space dash space with just the dash, that's going to automatically fix all of those places where you have the space between your bracket. Sorry, between your dash. Once you've done that, you're then going to want to copy the position, application, action, and outcome columns, and you're going to want to paste those into a formatted Excel 97 spreadsheet that can be uploaded into TransIT. When you're ready, you're then able to use the upload spreadsheet option that's inside your scenario option inside TransIT. And so the last thing is fighting over login information. So what we mean by this is this particular example here. So your login column is telling you that the login information for the ambulatory front office staff is CPM user with the password Cerner. But when I look in the action column, it's telling me to log in using CPM user 2 as my username and Cerner as my password. So the reason for that is that there's only one single position created for the ambulatory front office staff. So what you should be doing instead of using the action column to call out the different positions and passwords is you should be instead adding a second position. So you can click the add position link here and create a second position that's going to be able to have a second password, or sorry, a second login. So you can see here, all we did was add position, and we've got now ambulatory front office staff 1 or no number, and then ambulatory front office staff 2. Once you've created your second position, so you can see that from the list here, we've got ambulatory front office staff 1 and ambulatory front office staff 2. Sorry, just to step back for 1 second, the only people that are able to update this information are the administrators. So if you're working on your scenario and you realize, okay, this says that the login information for the front office staff is CPM user, but I, for my location, need to be signing in with a different username, then you need to contact your administrator to say, okay, I need a second position so that I can add a second set of login information. So you can click so once your position has been created, you can click the add login link. When you do that, it's going to give you a dialog box that you can enter the information into. And then once it's saved, it's going to display here. So now you can see that for ambulatory front office staff, I have my first one has CPM user Cerner, and my front office staff 2 has CPM user 2 and Cerner as the password. Once you have your position added, you then need to use the arrows along the left-hand side to select and change the position for anywhere that had number 2. So you'll click the down arrows and then the up arrows and then select position. Once you've selected position, you're going to select the appropriate position from the drop-down list and click save. And once you've done that, you can see that now the login column matches what was previously what is listed in the action column. Once you've updated that information, you should then go and look at your tasks and start updating your task to remove those details fields. So instead, you should have the action to say log into Cerner using the information from the login column. And then once you've saved it, it's going to look like this. And the benefit to doing this is it means that if that login information does change, You don't need to manually go into each scenario to update that action column. You just need to have the administrator update your login information, and then it's going to automatically update all of the different scenarios. So that was it. Is there any questions that people have about that?
Hey, Anne, this is Patty. There was one thing that I forgot to ask you to let people know, and that's that a lot of people are having problems getting into the videos where we put them. So if you can go to the Solutions Inc. website for a second, what we're doing is posting them out there. So if you can, since you're sharing, if you don't mind going to your browser and going to Make Solutions Inc. Not to the TransIT login, no, to Make Solutions Inc., to our website. And then from there, if you go to the About menu item and you go to News, and then you scroll down, there's a link there that should allow you to get to each of these virtual user group sessions. So this one obviously isn't posted yet, and I'm not sure if it'll take you there since you're actually in a taped session, but that's where all of them are posted. So a lot of people have messaged either me or the support line to say that they can't get to them. So all the old ones are posted there, and this one will be posted there sometime tomorrow or in the near future.
Okay, does anyone have any questions about anything that we covered today? Okay, then I think we can wrap things up. And going forward, if you have any requests for things that you want to see for future lunch and learns, then please feel free to email us at support@makesolutionsinc.com with your suggestions. And we'd be happy to cover that in one of our future lunch and learns.